you know, like top 6 hardest schedule in the league, but I think you hammer the over. And look, with the weaponry that they have, and I know we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, I think CJ Stroud's a sneaky MVP candidate, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he's a sneaky MVP candidate, especially with that weaponry that he has, but we'll get into it a little bit later on. But yeah, I agree. Hammer the over. And I don't, I don't think it's close. I think they clear it no problem.
No, I think they clear it by a mile, to be honest with you. So moving on, we got MVP, right? So we're gonna get into MVP. We'll get into Coach of the Year. We'll get into Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. So I give you the floor, Gift. Who do you got for MVP? You just said it. You just said it 2 seconds
No,
ago that you were going to get
I'm gonna
into it.
I'm gonna go off the board, and I might regret this, and it might blow up in my face. But I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts.
You son of a bitch.
And
I got it.
and here, yeah, and that's fine. We can have the same one. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think last year was kind of the perfect storm of suck for the Eagles. And they started off really hot, and then they absolutely just shit the bed down the stretch. I honestly think that they're going to get back on stride this year. And I think why am I blanking? Hold on.
Kellen
Yeah.
Moore?
I think the addition of Kellen Moore is really going to help them because it's more of a pro style offense. And I think with the weapons that they have, and I think that it's going to be less gimmicky and more aggressive down the field. And I think that with Saquon coming into the mix now, that's a back that they've really kind of never had in Philly in the sense of like he's motivated and all of the offense is not going to come down on his shoulders. Like he's got a stud quarterback. He's got other weapons that they can go off of. And especially in the passing game, right? I think that he is going to be an absolute weapon for them. And so that is ultimately that's ultimately going to reflect on Jalen Hurts. And look, I think with it, Swift was good, but I think that coming out of the backfield and being that kind of game breaker out of the running back position, I think that's even going to help on, say, for instance, he goes to his first read, he goes to his second read, he goes to third, and here's my kind of like break glass in case of emergency option. Oh, it's Saquon Barkley in open field just for a little dunk off. So where potentially they could maybe have gotten 1 or 2 yards in the past, Saquon can take that and go 5, 6, 7 yards, or who knows, even break one down the sideline. And just what was a simple play ends up going for 70 yards and 6. So I think for that, I think with Kellen Moore being a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end, and I think it's going to be a lot less gimmicky for me, I think Jalen Hurts is my MVP candidate.
Yeah, you stole it. I agree. I think Jalen Hurts is the guy. I wish I went first because I have the same exact notes that you do. Saquon's going to be huge, and a big reason why too is he went to Penn State, right? So he's got, he knows the Philly area. He knows what it takes to win in that type of environment. He wants to be in that type of environment, which is great. And like, I agree with you. I think it's going to help out in the passing game. It's going to allow Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown get open even further. Dallas Goedert's going to be a really good third down tight end as well, and maybe even a red zone target. Where I think one thing that they might lack in is a little bit from the offensive line standpoint. Kelsey obviously retiring. Sometimes they're always banged up, right? But they do have a way to making it work, right? and they do have the ninth easiest schedule this year. So I think that Jalen Hurts will expose every single defense he plays because he truly is the Lamar Jackson of the NFC, where he can do multiple things, whether that's running the football with his feet, being a very elusive coming out of the backfield, out of the pocket, saving time for his receivers. It's just gonna come down to his decision making. Last year, I think his interception numbers, increased. I believe it was around. Let's see, I'm looking right now. It was around 13, I believe, interceptions last year. So it was one of those things where it was kind of like a downfall, compared to what he had, in 2022, which was like MVP like numbers. So I think you're going to see him get back to 2022 type of performance. Again, Saquon's going to help, but you brought it up, Giff. You brought it up literally 10 seconds ago with C.J. Stroud, and I think C.J. Stroud is a guy that could be 1B because I think Jalen Hurts is one guy that has a lot of weapons around him that has proven that he can do it on his feet. In 2022, he had 760 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 22 throwing touchdowns with 3,700 passing yards. So he is the bona fide package, and CJ Stroud is that way with the Houston Texans right now going into his second year. He's just going to have to live up to that expectation because the expectations are high. But I agree. I think Jalen Hurts is in the perfect way with what they've done around him. And yes, Fletcher Cox, has decided to retire as well, right? So it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to move on with the old and bring in the new. And Jalen Carr is a beast, so and Walker too. So I'm gonna have to go with Jalen Hurts for sure. Okay. So Coach of the Year, just so you don't steal my thunder, I'm jumping into the mix here. Is DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans is going to win. He won absolutely. If there was a rookie coach of the year last year, he won that award. He's a guy that you can always count on to build culture, to build consistency, continuity, chemistry, all throughout the locker room and onto the field. He's got great front office. He's got great support around him to be a worth it type of coach. And he had no business leading that team last year to the playoffs, Jeff. Second round of the playoffs. He led that team to the second round of the playoffs. And can you only imagine if he gets 11 wins and they make it to the playoffs, make the AFC Championship, possibly the Super Bowl, and find a way to make that happen? He could go as having the fastest start in the NFL coaching role. He's a former coach. He knows what it's like to win. They went to I think, a lot of playoffs during his time with the Houston Texans, especially with Deshaun Watson and Schaub as well. So I think you eventually have to look at these guys and put them in the right spot. And DeMeco Ryans is a perfect guy to do that. And this will be one of the first awards he will win in a very short amount of time. And he will win more right after this year. But this year, in my eyes, he gets coach of the year. What's what around him? What's he put onto the defense? Danielle Hunter is going to be a beast as well. So I got DeMeco Ryans.
That's a good pick. I think for me, and I don't have DeMeco Ryans. So just so you know, we're not going to go back to back kind of the same thing here.
Good. Stay out.
So my only thing about picking DeMeco Ryans is that if they didn't give it to him last year, with the team and the expectations that they have, now the narrative is flipped from coming out of nowhere to this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? With the team they have and with that momentum of coming off of last year and with
Kevin Stefanski won last year.
Yeah, because so I think for me, the expectations have changed. And that, I mean, look, if we're being honest, like coach of the year should have been Bill Belichick 10 times. Let's just be honest. But when you have high expectations and you have okay, this is what you're supposed to do versus outweighing expectations. I think it's a little bit harder for the coach of the year to go to get kind of picked at that point. So for me,
That's fair.
now I'm going to go against my own point here in a second with my pick. My pick is Andy Reid. Okay. Because I don't care about the Chiefs have reached the point for me where I don't care about their strength of schedule. I don't care who they have in front of them. They have Patrick Mahomes. Their wide receiving core is a lot better than it was last year. And teams still haven't figured out how to cover Travis Kelce, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
now, with the defense that they had last year, and they had to win games a little bit different, where it wasn't winning games 42-35. It wasn't winning games 38-31. They had to go at the low end of the total because of the personnel that they had on the offensive end. I think their wide receivers are back. And with the defense and how it played last year, Chris Jones is still there. There's
Yep.
studs all up and down the line. And they still have Patrick Mahomes. Like, he hasn't gone anywhere. And he has more weapons. And they have a defense that they can rely on now if their offense isn't clicking for whatever reason. So for me, it's Andy Reid, because I think that they're going to go 13-4, 14-3. They're still going to be kind of
Mhm.
the number one seed in the AFC. And until someone else rips that, number one team in the AFC from them, it's crazy to me that Andy Reid's not on the board. Like, if you go to the odds, he's literally not on the board. So
He's not.
he's probably at least plus 2,000 to win Coach of the Year. I think that's a pretty, like, if you want to throw a couple of shekels on there, I think it'd be a good bet. And especially, no team has come off of winning 3 Super Bowls in a row, and Mahomes has been there, and Kelsey's been there, and Reed's been there. So for me, I think it's Andy Reid, and I think it's just, coming off of last year, having to win a playoff game on the road. Everybody's saying, oh, you can't win a playoff. They never had to go on the road for a playoff game, blah, blah, blah. And beating the 49ers in the Super Bowl, I think that they're in everybody's heads, and I know they're going to get everybody's best. But for me, it's Andy Reid, because I still think they're the number one seed in the AFC.
And I know strength of schedule wise, you don't really care for, but just to throw it out there,
Yep.
12th hardest schedule.
Okay.
So I don't think that matters, like you said, but I think it helps. I think it helps Andy Reid. So I really think moving forward that the Kansas City Chiefs are just absolute force, and until Mahomes finds a way to, either get injured or just says I'm getting bored with this, I'm hanging it up, which won't happen for a while. I would say Kansas City is going to have their way. Moving on, Offensive Player of the Year. For me, I look at this as an opportunity for CeeDee Lamb to really make a face for the Cowboys organization. And if you think about it, right, if you think of the Cowboys, what do we always talk about? Regular season awards, fantastic in the regular season, in that tough division. They always find a way to either get 13, 14 wins every single year. And I think CeeDee Lamb is he's going to have to get some help, right? Like, you're going to have eyes on the Zeke Elliott and Dowdle, and they got Brandon Cooks, right, and they got Ferguson at the tight end position. So I think a lot of attraction is going to be on his eyes. And if you look at it too, they have the 22nd, toughest schedule, so it doesn't help that he's going to be playing some tough defense. But I think he's just a specimen when it comes to wide receiver position.